You have the gift of gab. All right, here we go. 1 and 2 and 3. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the No Breakfast Club. I'm Larry.
And I am his younger brother, Josh.
And today, there's no Dan again. He feeling much better. He was feeling a little sick. He wasn't sure, what it could be. Pretty sure it's not Corona or COVID-19, but he decided to quarantine himself for the solid 2 weeks just to be safe, which I appreciate and we should all appreciate. Yes. And so I decided, we needed to do another episode, fill it in. And so I asked my brother to fill in for Dan because he has some experience with keto and intermittent fasting as well. And he's got the gift of gab like I do, hopefully. And he'll talk enough. And
definitely enough.
And so then we'll get to it. Pull the mic a little bit closer.
Just a little bit closer. Right up in my grill.
Talk right into it.
Okay, what am I?
Yeah, that's perfect right there. You're fine.
Okay. But I was talking into it already.
You were. But that's why I pivot like this. I do move too much. I've had that complaint. Sorry, people who don't like watching me swivel back and forth. But I swivel around the mic because I'm talking into it. Anyway. So I have a couple things I want to bring up before we get into it.
There's news and announcements that are more important than me.
That are more important than you. Just the little things I keep forgetting to mention. We do have a Facebook group. There's a link in the description. There's also a link on our banner. We want to kind of build a community there for people who are trying to lose weight or just want to share things and talk about the show or whatever you want to talk about. It's really simple. We don't have a lot of rules, mostly just be nice and keep it on topic for the most part. You probably can go off topic because we probably will too, but don't make us, our number one rule is don't make us have to make a rule. But yeah, so.
And don't be the person who has to be the first one kicked off because all they do is come on and troll.
Come on and troll or come on and try to sell something. We're not trying to sell anything. It's all free, whatever. We're just giving information or sharing information.
Which when I invite people to watch your guys' podcast, listen to it, or the videos, one of my biggest selling points to people that I know is like, hey, if you want to see people that are down to earth, that are real about this from experience, that aren't trying to just hawk you crap,
yeah,
this is where you go because they're not being sponsored. They're not selling a bunch of shit. They're not there for this is the next big pill you can take or follow this fitness program here. This is just, we know what worked in our lives. Should work for you too if you do it right.
Yeah, like the only thing we're selling is ourself and all it costs is your time. You watch this show. If you enjoy our personalities, that's awesome too. But
listen to it in the truck.
Yeah. So thanks for that. Facebook group. And then also if you don't have time, you don't like to watch the show on YouTube, you can also find us on, this is also just a podcast. So you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio.
Google Play.
It's on there now. And a host of other things. We Buzzsprout is our service that hosts us. And so they're pretty cool. They have a lot of different ways to, if you're thinking of doing a podcast, I'd totally do Buzzsprout. I probably could get a link or something that would give us something, but I don't care about that. I'm just letting you know that, obviously there's no code for this. We're not sponsored by anything. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Simple service. We pay like $20 a month, and they host us and we have access to all those different services. So anyways, so if you can't listen on YouTube or watch on YouTube and you still want to listen, you want to use on your phone or something, and you want to just get the audio alone, you can find us on all those different services. Again, like Spotify. I think we're going to eventually be on Pandora too. So I'm working on that right now.
Yeah, and downloading ahead of time for anybody who listens to podcasts on a regular basis, it's a lifesaver. Because if you're driving in your vehicle, you're stuck, you think, okay, I'm tired of the radio because I've had 15,000 commercials in the last hour. I've only heard 4 songs. I know what I can do. Talk radio's dead because podcasts exist. I'm listening to my podcast, but you don't want to sit there and be in a dead spot because your AT&T, Sprint, Mobile, whatever it is, isn't working very well in that one weird spot on the 95 on the freeway.
Yeah.
So rather than trying to stream YouTube on your phone and getting buffering signals, you can listen to the podcast you already had downloaded, which is what I do with like 10 other podcasts. I'm a podcast junkie.
And even if you're streaming the podcast, it's gonna take less data than a video.
Yeah.
So anyways, so I just wanted to get those announcements out there. Yeah, so we're available on all those different services. There are links in the banner on our main page, and there are also links in the description. And I'm pretty sure I have the links for Spotify and stuff in the description as well. So anyway, this is another special guest episode of the No Breakfast Club, and this is my brother Josh. And so we're gonna talk about his experience with weight and weight loss, weight gain, all the things that go along with that. And then his experience that he had, he also did keto and IF. So, Josh, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I am Larry's younger brother. We raised together, our family, like he's already mentioned in episodes in the past, tight-knit family, religious background. Growing up, I was not just his younger brother, I was always his smaller brother. I was always small. Everybody always told him when he used to pick on me and we'd wrestle and fight, and not that he was alone in that, I picked on him too, as brothers do. We were...
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you teased me more. I was more violent as a child because I was, in my mind, psychologically tortured by my older, larger brother. So, just as brothers do, we always fought. And it still to this day drives me nuts. Everybody always told him, be careful, be careful. One day your younger brother will be bigger than you, because that kind of seems to be a normal thing.
In our family.
Yeah, in our family, that the youngest ones tend to grow more than the older ones. So I was always convinced that we have an uncle who's 6'7". I look a lot like him. I have a very similar build to him. Everyone said that I'd be the next 6'7", 6'8" tall guy in the family. Didn't happen. I got screwed. He's always been bigger than me.
And I still am. I'm 6'5", by the way.
I'm 6'3". I'm not that far behind. Well, depends on my shoes.
Yeah.
So I'm a little over 6'2". You're not quite 6'5". I don't think barefoot, are you?
Yeah, I am.
You are now? Now that you're not slouching with the extra weight anymore? Okay, so maybe now he has peaked as 6'5". I'm a little over 6'2", because...
Well, I was 6'5", and then I put on...
Yeah, you shrunk down to about 6'4".
107 pounds and compressed my spine down, and then I lost the weight, and I sit up straight, and then 6'5" again.
So anyway, when I was little, and he was a bigger kid, and I was this smaller, skinny, ridiculously skinny version. When we were real young, I was like a zipper.
You were a stick, yeah.
If I stood sideways and stuck out my tongue, I looked like a zipper.
Yeah.
I was a stick bug. There was nothing to me. No butt, no hips, nothing.
None of the men in our family have a butt, by the way. Yeah. Even when I was fat,
I got more of a butt now, but that's for the reasons. Anyway, so I did what a lot of people, as you grow up and as I got older, when we were real little, video games, internet service, none of that stuff was there. It was play outside, run around, which is why even though Larry was still a pretty big kid, he was never an overweight kid. Really, he wasn't an obese kid. He was just kind of a thick kid.
Yeah. I was always chubby, but I was husky, as we'd say, right?
Husky. He had a little bit of baby fat still on him, but he was just kind of thick, and it worked to his advantage in a lot of ways. I was this little stick that ran around behind him, always trying to play with him and bothering him and his friends, because he was my big brother, and I looked up to him, literally. So you fast forward, and the schools we went to, elementary school was a 9-month school. Our middle school was a year-round school and had tracks. We happened to follow this track that most of our family picked because we did band and stuff. We were geeks. Was that our summer break between elementary school and middle school, between 5th and 6th grade, was, instead of a 3-month break, was like a 5-month break. Because summer break ended, you went straight into track break. That summer was hot. That summer we had, for the first time, a console in the house all year. We had a Sega Genesis with Sega Channel, which was way ahead of its time, by the way.
Sega Channel was awesome.
Sega Channel was great. For the people that do like Xbox Game Pass, it was that back in the 90s for Sega Genesis, and it was legit as hell.
Yeah.
So I was playing a ton of video games. I was getting more into watching movies. I was playing with Legos and G.I. Joes in the house with my friends. We weren't going outside nearly as much, and I started to get chunky. I became this little kind of chubby kid. I didn't hit my growth spurt till the end of middle school. I went into high school. I did 3 sports. I was competitive in sports, got athletic, got back into a good weight. By the time I got out of high school, I was a very fit 190 pounds. I mean, I wear like a large shirt now. I wear like a medium shirt then to show off sometimes, and I could pull it off. But then you get out of school, you're still eating like an athlete. I wasn't in the position in life to be a collegiate athlete, so I didn't.
Well, I'll cut you off. You probably could have been if you went for that.
Yeah,
but you didn't go for it.
More.
We had other reasons why we wouldn't. But anyways, not on that subject. But yeah, when he says like he would still eat like an athlete, I used to joke with him as I was heavy, and we, as much as we are brothers and we have things in similar, we put on weight differently.
Yeah,
we have basically there's two body types in our family. There's we look a lot similar now, but there was like basically my dad and my mom, and everyone who was like my mom was like my brother, and I have another sister and my mom, and they could kind of eat whatever they wanted, and it doesn't mean they were healthy, and doesn't mean they wouldn't put weight on, but there was a plateau to it.
Slower process.
And there was my dad's side where we're just round faced, we're just chubby, we're just husky. No matter how, I said, no matter how much I ran around and I was athletic and did things, I was always the heavy kid.
We both have our dad's neck, so even if we're skinny or fit, we have like this lizard thing that kind of goes on.
Yeah, it's worse for me.
So you always get a double chin no matter what you do in life.
But anyway, and I used to joke with him because we would come home from school or work or whatever, and I would go and we'd be playing games together, whatever. We have like 2 Xboxes going, playing Call of Duty or something.
Yeah.
And we'd be playing, and he would always be eating while playing, and I would just be playing. But I was twice his size because it didn't matter. I mean, we weren't being active, but I wasn't like, he would eat like quarter-pound hot dogs, like 2 of them every day, whether he had lunch or dinner.
Diet in high school.
He would have lunch, and then later on he would have dinner, and in the middle of the day he would have basically another meal.
Yeah, I'd have a half pound of beef
every day,
and hot dogs, or like a double quarter-pounder burger that I would make at home.
And I'm not saying I ate healthy, but it was just like, it was frustrating for me. But anyways, you kept eating that way.
Yeah, one of my favorite pastimes when I was active is on weekends. I used to like go, and when Little Caesars first started doing their $5 hot and ready pickup pizzas, I'd fork over $5,
and they're $6 now.
Yeah, I'd buy a pizza, sit down, grab my Xbox, and in the course of a couple of 20-minute games, I'd down the whole pizza. But the one thing I did when I was eating like that and I was in school was I quit drinking soda altogether. I didn't drink soda. I was very limited on sports drinks, didn't drink fruit drinks, punch, anything like that. I cut the liquid sugars out of my diet.
And that makes a huge difference.
Which it does. And that's part of the reason why I think between my activity, and even though I ate like a mule and I wasn't always eating healthy,
kid and I
had the fast metabolism, I was an athlete, I cut a bunch of weight eating like a horse because I was not eating lots of sugars, which keto teaches you don't eat the sugars, and it makes a huge difference. Common sense tells you don't eat a bunch of sugars, and it makes a huge difference. So that's part of the reason why I also knew the keto thing would work so well for me, because I knew it worked partially when I kind of did it in high school without realizing it.
Yeah.
So you fast forward to get out of school. I was working as a welder and fabricator for a while. I didn't really gain a lot of weight doing that because I was working we live in Vegas.
Labor-intensive job.
It was a labor-intensive job. We had swamp coolers that were 40 feet above our heads in the ceiling. They didn't really do anything. Instead of the warehouse being 110 degrees, it was 85 degrees. So you still sweat your ass off while you're working. But I was just active enough doing stuff that I put on a little bit of weight, probably got closer back up to like 210.
You went from a high school kid to an adult. You thickened, but it wasn't like fat.
And then the economic downturn hit, and I got into a tiff with my newly promoted boss at my job, because the boss that I originally worked for, my foreman, that I was a great guy, I loved him to death, he got a promotion, so somebody else came in and took his spot who didn't have a fond opinion of me for whatever reason. I thought I got along with just about everybody that I worked with. I think he just felt I wasn't seasoned enough to be there because I was in my early 20s and I was obviously not doing journeyman work, but I was building things on my own, and he didn't think that was right. For whatever reason, he had it in his head that this young kid shouldn't be doing this. So he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing all my buttons till eventually I was like, you know what? I'm done. Here's my 2 weeks. I'm going to go find something else. May not pay as well, but I'm going to find something that's not, in the heat, not as labor intensive, something I can just kind of go be lazy for a little while before I leave for a mission, which I was planning on serving for our church. And what I didn't realize, what nobody realized, was that 2008 hit, the market fell out, and there were no more jobs left.
Especially in Vegas. Yeah.
Vegas got hit really hard when the market collapsed. So I was unemployed for like 2 years, and then I left for a mission, and there's this place called there's a couple of them around the world, but it's called the MTC, the Missionary Training Center. And in the Church of Christ Latter-day Saints, you go there before you go to leave. And if you're going to learn, if you're going to go to a place where you speak a different language, you spend more time there. If you do what I do, you're still speaking English. I served in Tennessee. You go there and you just spend all day and night, 6 days a week, with the exclusion of Sunday being a day of worship, a day of rest, learning how to teach gospel doctrine, learning how to teach from Scripture, and how to share your experiences and spirituality with other people around the world, wherever you're going. They provide, it's like dorm living, almost like being on a college campus. But the difference is that when you go to eat in the cafeteria, it's a buffet style. And when I say buffet, I mean it's all you can eat. In the 3 weeks I was at the MTC, I put on like 15 pounds just sitting around reading and eating. And that's all I did for 3 weeks. So I get out to Tennessee and Kentucky and Illinois and all the places I was at. And a lot of people see the Mormon missionaries on bicycles. So I had to start biking the hills of Tennessee, all the way burned back off again. Came home. I was in good shape. I was doing well. Fast forward in life. Eventually, I met my wife, got married. We have my oldest, which came with my wife. I absolutely love my children. I have 3 daughters now, but I had a little girl and we got a house and everything. We're all kind of settled. And I was working in law enforcement. I was in good shape because I'd gone through an academy for about 5.5 months. I was actually probably... since high school, since high school, I was in the best, fittest shape I'd been in my life.
Yeah.
And I was feeling really good. And then we were trying to expand our family and we were going and my wife got pregnant. And when my wife's pregnancy with our middle child, our 3-year-old daughter, she got really sensitive to smells. So we couldn't cook at home. She couldn't cook at home. I couldn't cook at home. She couldn't be around the smell of food cooking probably 85% of the time. So we ate out a lot. We ate a lot of fast food. She was still working in the beginning. I was working and making good money, so it wasn't a financial concern. We just did it. And all the weight that I had, lost and all the good shape and the, what's the word I'm looking for? How fit I'd gotten in the academy and how lean and how toned I'd got in the academy all just went away, just dissolved into nothing. And you fast forward 2.5 years down the line or so, and I reached the most unhealthy point in my life. I was 245 pounds.
Which, for some of our listeners, and even for me, at one point, that would have been a godsend.
Yeah, right. Like I would love to be 245.
But for those who got to understand, even those other points my brother was saying, like where he was like putting weight on or being unhealthy, he wasn't that big even then. He was just...
Yeah, no, my peak... coming out of the MTC when I put on like those 15 pounds, my heaviest prior to this was just over 220.
Yeah.
And that at the
he was
time
always a beanpole.
Sickened me. I was the beanpole and then I was the athlete. We have broad chest and shoulders in our family.
Yeah.
I have a relatively athletic build through the vast majority of my life. And when I got to 245 pounds, I didn't have that. My uniform didn't really fit the way it was supposed to. My face was round from every angle. I had lost and that was one of the things I noticed the most that kind of killed me. I lost my jawline.
Yeah.
And, you come from looking back at old pictures when you were football or wrestling or swimming, the things that I did, backyard boxing and MMA with your friends, and you remember how strong and how nimble and how quick and how fast you were, and then you go up a couple flights of stairs or you respond to an emergency and you have to subdue somebody and put them in restraints, and you're so beyond winded after that adrenaline dump is gone. I was just like mortified at myself and what I let myself become. And it wasn't a conscious thing that it was like for most people.
It rarely is.
You just lived life.
Yeah.
You, in a country, especially like the US, where there's so many options for easy, quick food, you do what's convenient in the moment. So living out of convenience and just kind of going on a day-to-day thing and not thinking about what I'd thought about in the past because I was no longer, in something real hard and competitive. Yeah. You just kind of let yourself start to go.
I want to talk about that briefly. So I one of the thhave a lot of friends and I've people that this is what I talk about now a lot is weight loss and diets and things like that. And I have a few friends that are vegan or pescatarian or whatever their different diet is. And again, like me and Dan say, all diets work if you do them, especially if you do them in a healthy way. So like if you're a healthy vegan, you'll be healthy. If you're a healthy pescatarian, you'll be healthy. If you're doing it the right way. Make sure you're hitting all your macros and get what you need. You can be a junk food, anything. You can be junk food keto and it will work to a degree. Then there's a point where it plateaus, it doesn't work anymore. You can be junk food vegan, it'll work to a point where that it doesn't work anymore. But one of the things we often talk about is it's kind of the thing about being in a first world country, particularly America, is that when we have an abundance of food, we throw away. We could feed the world. We don't have a food shortage. Like people will talk about occasionally how we're going to run out of food. We will never run out of food.
Yeah,
the population is supposed to it'll level out for about 10 billion. That's like their number. They're saying we'll probably never go above 10 billion. We won't hit 11 billion as a species. It'll just level out. There's a lot of reasons why I'm not going to get into that, but we can grow enough food to feed us. The problem we have is it's not a food, it's a logistics problem. It's getting the food to everybody. Right. But in the United States, we have the food. We're the breadbasket of the world. Yeah. I mean, just like right now with COVID-19, like the meat shortage we're having, we actually don't have a shortage. We have plenty of cows and pigs and chickens. It's the processing and then getting it around.
World economy between some of the exports that we have going out and all those exports are left, and now that we have the stuff here, but it's the distribution chains that are all down because of people being sick.
Exactly. And so that's the problem we have when it comes to actually feeding the world. It's the distribution. If we could get the food out in an efficient way, we could feed the whole world and there'd be no problem. It's a combination of distribution, logistics, and greed. It's definitely part of that.
Well, just to put into perspective, the United States produces, I think, somewhere in the range of about 85% of the world's corn. The world's consumed corn, not just among people, but amongst animals too. And that corn, that like 85% or 80%, whatever it is, the vast majority of that comes out of one state in the United States, and it's actually not
Nebraska.
Nebraska. It's not the Cornhusker state. It actually comes out of Illinois. And then when Illinois produces all that corn, the next season they produce almost all of the consumed soybean that comes from the United States. Now, soybeans also farmed a lot of other places around the world in mass, but...
Well, I mean, we have again, same thing that when it comes to cheese, right? There's aircraft carriers worth of cheese every year the government buys and just stores it in a giant freezer. Yeah. Because we produce more, and it's even worse there because
happy COVID-19, cheese comes from happy cows, which come from California.
No, this all comes from Wisconsin. This is all in the Midwest North. But yeah, again, we have an abundance of food. But again, on that same subject, where I was originally going to go with this was that with all this food, we also have this unlimited amount of choice. So if you look at I remember seeing this a few years ago, and it was they get an ethnicity group, they'd find a tribe in Africa, and they would have them a family, the average size family. They would it was this kind of promotional thing they were doing. I can't remember who it was. I saw it on Reddit years ago. So they'd have this traditional family in some village in Africa, and then would have all the food they eat would be in front of them, their staples for the year. This is what they eat, and it was everything was very simple and very plain. It was here's their grain they eat, here's the bean thing they eat, here's the meat they eat, and then maybe a couple other vegetables and fruits. This is kind of what they eat.
Here's the rare dairy.
This is their standard diet. What these people eat, and every country was like that. And then if you get to America, it's not like that because we have all of those things.
A dump truck full of food.
It's not. I'm not saying that there is
not the amount, but I'm saying how much selection.
Well, we have so much variety.
Yeah,
so many choices, and so imagine if you live in a village in Taiwan or whatever, right, or Thailand or I don't know whatever in China, wherever you live, right, and every night you're having Chinese food. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
You're having your staple. You have a rice,
thing.
And then with that rice, you have a meat and you have a vegetable.
Yeah, but it's basically you're having that same thing. And you go to the average family today, and you're like, "Hey, what do you want tonight? Let's have Chinese." Oh, we had Chinese last night. We had to have Italian tonight. We have to have something different.
Well, that's actually where I was going to go. Not the same train of thought, but that question. You think about how often in your family you ask the question, "What do you guys want for dinner?" So you think about other countries that aren't developed, technologically and economically like the United States is, or parts of Europe. You think about those countries and those travelers, or just even if it's not tribal, just some of those other countries where, like you said, they have their selection of food, their standard food, and other things are harder to come by. It's what are we going to have for dinner tonight? Isn't a question of here's all the many options. What do you guys want for dinner? It's okay. What do we actually have in the home? What are we going to have for dinner? Do we have enough rice? We have enough this. We ask, what do you want for dinner? You start listing off fast food and restaurants and joints. I don't know. Well, all these different things. Well, we have all this in the freezer. Well, do we have steaks in the house? We have steaks. Let's go, eat half a cow.
Yeah, well, I mean, and even if you don't, we can go pick it up. We can go right down the street and go get it. I mean, again, right now is an interesting time because it's not quite that way. But
there's still curbside
but there's
pickup.
still plenty. I mean, not everything's in the store when you want to go get it. Anymore,
Yeah.
But despite
grocery
that,
stores,
we have this a crazy amount of selection and choice, and even if you are in one of these other countries, I'm not trying to say I'm not trying to disparage other countries. Like, if you are stable and you have a good job, and you know having food in the house isn't a question for you, but there is no question of what we're going to have tonight. It's like whoever is the person who cooks the food in the home just cooks the food. It's just the food, because it's again, the food is more fuel than it is. You know, they eat to live, less live to eat.
Well, we have farmers markets as like a niche where it's the cool, healthy, fresh thing to get to do. And they're awesome. I love farmers markets. I love going and getting that fresh fruit and knowing that when you're biting into something like that, like it was grown, locally,
sourced locally. Yeah.
But a farmers market is such a foreign concept to some of these countries because that is the market. It's not the farmers market. That's just where you go and get your food. We have grocery stores where things have been packaged and processed and frozen, which we want to avoid.
Or whatever,
And you have this massive selection of all these refrigerated meats that have been, cut and prepped and stored and just ready for you to grab and take home a slab of T-bones back to your house to grill.
I mean, who knows where that came from?
And when you go to these other markets are part of the world, it's like, okay, well, that chicken looks good. Let's kill that one and take it home.
Yeah.
Our chicken comes in a bag. We
also have that separation, right? A separation from the actual thing.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with hunting. Like, you and I both talked about wanting to go hunting. Mm-hmm. We have family members that do it, but we've never done it because our dad just wasn't into it. And that's fine if you're not into it. But there's like this, and especially as Americans, and this culture is where we have this separation from the meat that's at the market or on the table from where it actually comes from. And there's like this bridging that I feel like is an important thing. But
see Betsy at the farm, you don't think about Betsy's throat being figures, hamburgers.
But we're not going to get too much into that. But that is the thing. But yeah, so I was saying a variety. And on that same subject, I have a friend we were talking about, and she's Hispanic, and she was talking about whenever she eats food that are like native to her people, she feels better.
Yeah.
And I think that's true to a degree for everybody. Obviously, you can eat whatever you want. Whatever works for you. And if you find something that's from a different culture and it works for you, it works for you. But I think there's a truth to that too. I mean, it's like most cultures or most people that tend to be lactose intolerant come from cultures where dairy is not part of their diet.
Well, you think about,
and if you don't have that problem, whatever culture you come from, usually dairy is a staple of it.
Yeah. I mean, also you think about the foods, their culture, that's everybody has comfort foods, right? You think of a lot of European cultures, comfort foods tend to be things like soup and sandwiches. Yeah. Right? And then the sandwich is a European thing. Soup is, there's all kinds of soup all around the world, but our down south, the soul food, chicken, fried chicken stuff, those are like some of our comfort foods. But those cultural foods tend to be the comfort foods too. My wife is Latina. You ask my wife what she could eat on a more regular, common basis, and it's going to be Hispanic food. And she has particular ones that are very much her comfort, that when she's, tired, stressed, sick, whatever it is, she wants this particular style of a tomato soup, and she wants, warm, fresh tortillas with it, and she wants beans.
Well, what I was going to say, though, on this same note was, this woman I was talking to about was, it wasn't just like I feel better because it's my thing.
Yeah, but her body processes
it better. Yeah, and she's vegan, and so she does like a vegan option of the Hispanic. So she goes like with the right kind of beans.
Genetics always play a part. Yeah,
that's the interesting thing. Of course, on this channel we kind of push more keto and intermittent fasting. And I think the reason intermittent fasting works so well is because as human beings, that's how we ate for millennia. Yeah. It was literally feast or famine.
It lets your body reset. It helps remind you that you're not living to eat. You're not snacking on stuff just because it's there when you tell yourself, well, this isn't my window to eat. Yeah. So even if because you've said it, I know it's true. Everybody knows it's true. You walk into the kitchen, you're not really hungry. You see that yummy looking thing over in the corner, and you'll go and stop and stare at it for a minute, and you have this long or short, depending on your willpower, debate in your head. Okay, do I really want that little piece of lemon loaf that looks good? I know it's going to taste good. I know I'll enjoy eating it in the moment, and then I also know that about 2 minutes later, I'll be walking away thinking, why did I just put 400 calories in my mouth and in my body of
that
almost
didn't
nothing but
satiate
sugar?
me and didn't help me
all
at
it makes me
all.
want is to go eat the rest of the loaf, which is another 1,200 calories I don't need.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, again, and or just even on that same note, when you're walking through the fridge and you're not thinking about food, you're not hungry, and for some reason you just end up opening the fridge door and you're like, wait, why am I open? Why am I standing here with the fridge door open? I'm not hungry.
Staring in the pantry, staring at whatever.
That's just this thing that we have as a culture of abundance. Even in hard times in this country, when things are bad, overall we're in a culture of abundance. If you really want food, you can get food in this country. I think anywhere.
Well, food and other amenities and commodities.
It's what you're willing to do to get it, but like for some people, like asking for help, it could be a shame and stuff involved with that. They may not want to, but if you really want, I think you there's no reason to starve in this country.
No, there's not. And for emphasis and proof, to put the nail in the coffin on this, my 3-year-old will walk to the pantry, grab a bag of chips, walk back to the couch, sit down and not open it, and just have a bag of chips next to her. And I'll look at her and say, baby girl, are you hungry? No. Why do you have chips? Oh, and she picks them up, puts them back in the pantry and goes back and sits on the couch and starts watching cartoons. A 3-year-old subconsciously walking through the kitchen and thinking, oh, I know there's food in there, and grabbing something. She's like, oh, just in case, whatever. She's not hungry. She just had a meal. She doesn't want to snack on something. She's not doing it for the flavor because she'll eat almost any chip. She just grabs a bag of chips, or she will ask for, a bag of gummies, and she's not really hungry or whatever. She's just, if I walk into the kitchen and I'm going near something or I'm opening the pantry for food, she'll come over. Oh, I want this. My baby, my 1-year-old will crawl over and, pointing and gesturing and baby talking, because you're in the kitchen. Even if they're not hungry, they think, oh, you go in there for food.
Yeah,
I got to put food in. I have to have food now because someone's in there.
Yeah, and there's
food.
That whole thing like bored eating.
Yeah,
like how many people have sat there and they didn't even realize that they're like watching TV or doing something on a computer or playing a game, and then they look down and they realize they just ate a whole like family size bag of chips,
or the bowl of pretzels,
or whatever. Yeah, it's gone.
And when you invite
you
people,
didn't even enjoy it. You didn't even taste it.
You invite people over to come and watch the movie, and what do? You put out trail mix, you put out the snack food. You buy the bowl of pretzel and Cheez-Its or
whatever it is. Even though popcorn's not that bad.
Well, depending on the popcorn.
Yeah, true.
Theater popcorn, as delicious as it is horrible for you.
But anyway, so that's a little bit of a tangent there, but it's an interesting thing. I think a part of that is like this culture of America where we have tons of food, we have abundance, and we have a lot of variety. And I think that's part of the weight problem. And like every country that gets developed, eventually this happens. Yeah. You look at every and
it even fluctuates as a country.
Yeah. And I think there's also a saturation point too. Like I think when a country starts doing well enough, eventually it shifts back. Yeah. Where they go like, whoa, why are we doing this to ourselves?
When enough people start to realize, you go back to the early 2000s and almost every other documentary or headline news story that wasn't about what happened like in 2001 at the end of the year in September.
It's all the Battle of the Bulge.
It was all about
fat people walking around.
Exactly. The war on McDonald's, this and that, the no more supersize or no more large meals, and why is obesity such a rampant thing in the country? So the country as a whole kind of is like, oh yeah, we should stop eating just because we want to eat. We should start, thinking about healthier options, and all the restaurants start changing parts of the menus. And they slowly start changing back.
Yeah, it goes back and it's eb and flow. There's an ebb and flow.
Just as much as we may fluctuate personally in our weight, the nation fluctuates.
I think it's kind of like the industrialization, right? When you're the up and comer and you're building big, you don't care about pollution. You just pollute because it's all about making more and more and more. Then you reach a point where
economy's thriving on that,
and then eventually you become like Switzerland or something. And everyone starts riding a bike. Right. I think that's what happens with food too, right? You're this up and coming country, and now you have all this variety and abundance, and you're just going to eat everything. So you see all these countries that like China and stuff, they're starting to have an obesity problem, and Japan went through the same thing because there's all this variety and all this American food starts showing up. And
like you say, the wealth, you reach that point in development where it's like, hey, we've gone so long eating to survive. We've gone so long just eating, surviving off the same thing and just striving to get our hands on it. Now we're thriving.
We're not surviving, we're thriving.
Now we want to enjoy. Here's a little bit of the luxuries of it. Here's a little bit of the, extra indulgence.
But it goes from a little bit, it becomes abundance.
To a lot.
And then those luxuries are no longer truly luxuries, right? So like something that was a treat that was like well crafted and done well becomes cheap and commercialized. And so instead of like this cake made by a baker, it's this amazing cake, it's this mass-produced, over-processed cake in a package, and you can get it any time.
And you get
Hostess and whatever.
Candy bars, you love you get the candy bars, and everybody loves, everybody has their favorite candy bar. Then you realize at a certain point as you get older in your life, and whether you've had this battle or not with your weight, but that maturity in certain ways about your eating habits, and now you're like, I'm gonna go spend $3 on that, rare Swiss chocolate bar that I have to go to this, different kind of store to find to eat because it's just so
much
different,
better.
so good. And if you do your research, you realize that that's just made by some guy in, if it's in Switzerland, it's made by some little chocolate shop that's been on the corner in this family for 10 generations. They've always made the same chocolate. To you, it's this amazing thing that's so different.
Yeah.
Because it's not coming off the Hershey factory floor where every other piece of chocolate in the United States is being processed.
Well, yeah. Well, there's a difference in quality too, right? Yeah. That's the thing. And I think that's what happens, right? Eventually you shift and you go away from that. You actually want quality again. You start having farmers markets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. And we went on a bit of a tangent there, but it was a fun one. But anyway,
it applies.
It applies.
It relates.
I think that's one of
the reason why I gained the weight that I got to 245 pounds with the indulgence and the convenience of eating the fast food all the time.
Yeah. And me and Dan have talked about this, that one of the things about when you start eating healthy and start changing your diet and getting this thing, you don't want to do the cheap crap anymore either.
Yeah.
You want to eat when you're going to eat, you want to make sure it's something really good. And it's going to be quality ingredients. You're going to like one of the differences between there was somebody I was recently talking to. Actually, he was in the comment sections of YouTube, I believe, or maybe it might have been Reddit. I'm not sure, but it had to do with the show. They actually had watched the show, and he was talking about how he didn't actually do keto, but he did a lower carb diet. But his whole thing became everything that I'm eating, nothing I bought was already made. I made it. You know, so there was only the only things because he needed to do pasta, so it wasn't keto. There's only a handful, keto. There's only a handful of things that he would eat that he didn't actually make, like, from nuts to bolts.
So he went away from the process to
and nothing was processed.
Cooking.
Everything he cooked. And that's a huge difference.
Yeah,
I generally do
from
that
scratch,
too.
It's a big difference.
And generally that's what I do now too. Everything that I eat, almost essentially I cook. There's a handful of things I don't,
Well, think about it. Some of those great meals. Okay, one of our fondest memories when we were younger, even though it wasn't necessarily a healthy thing that we were cooking, it was a rainy day in Vegas. It was just the two of us at home. We put on Braveheart. We made a big homemade pizza. And we sat and we
made it from scratch.
Yeah, we made the sauce from scratch. We took cans of like tomato and we pureed other stuff and we seasoned it the way we wanted to. And we grated out our own cheese and everything. And we made this pizza the way that we wanted it. And it was delicious. And it was pizza. I mean, pizza, I always do that because I love pizza. I'm a huge pizza junkie. That's always been my biggest vice. Yeah. When I was doing keto, where's got the best cauliflower crust pizza? I have to have pizza. But I always, mess people make the argument. Pizza has 5 of the food groups in it. You got vegetable or fruit. Yeah. You got your meats, proteins, whatever, all this stuff to it. But it's pizza. It's still not. But it was such a difference making the pizza yourself. Yeah. Making homemade pizza at home. That was good. The environment, I think, was part of it. But it was a great memory. Yeah.
Well, like a lot of people, right? It's that home cooking thing, your mom's cooking, whatever. And again, the more you can get down to those basic ingredients where you're one choosing them, and then everything you're choosing is quality.
Making the pancakes and waffles from scratch as much versus as good as Eggos can be. Putting something in the toaster.
Oh, well, Eggos are not even good. They're horrible.
Well, my 3-year-old loves them.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too, right? I think kids like things that are actually kind of either bland or sweet. That's it. It's bland and sweet. They don't like complex, nuanced flavor. Yeah. And again, it's quantity over quality. But so let's get back to before we went on this tangent, you were talking about, so you hit this high.
Yeah, hit this peak.
You hit this low point of self-esteem, but a high point in weight.
A peak in weight. Quite a high point in weight. For me.
For you.
For me, 245 pounds was...
For me, that was once a goal to get down to.
I was tired. I felt lethargic. My brain processing, everything just felt like it was all slow. I was physically, mentally, emotionally more exhausted than I'd ever been in my life. Mm-hmm. And I was disgusted with the way I looked. So much to the point that, I would shy away from my wife when I was like changing and stuff. I just felt disgusted by myself.
Yeah.
And so I see my brother, and I know that he's had different diets in the past. Larry's always, been bigger, like I said, struggled on and off with weight for so many years. Well, we have a birthday party for one of my kids. Comes over, and I'm looking at him. I know he's been doing this diet. I know that it's been working because I see him intermittently, and I see a 20-pound difference. I saw more than he saw it in the beginning, obviously, because he sees himself every day, and he was not weighing himself intentionally. He wanted to reach a point where he saw a significant difference before he weighed himself, right? Like he wanted to know that what you were doing wasn't maybe just a placebo, was a real thing.
Yeah, I think I was down 60 plus pounds before I weighed myself the first time from starting.
Yeah. So I'm seeing the weight coming off of my brother, my big brother. I'm thinking to myself, whatever he's doing for the first time is not just working physically, but he's happy. He's not tired. He's not angry because, you do diets like he's mentioned, and we all know you do some diets and you try them, and then it's not the diet that's going to work for you. So you're like pissed off half the time you're doing it. I know that I need to just eat this salad. And there's that funny line from an Adam Carolla movie where he's eating a salad and the other guy's eating a burger from the burger place. Oh, how's that salad? It tastes like a rabbit shit in my mouth.
Yeah.
We all know that experience. You're not enjoying that diet.
And then you're angry when you fail it.
Yeah. And so I'm seeing all these, not just the physical difference, but how everything is going so well for him. And I think to myself, okay, I got to ask him. I got to figure out what he's doing. Part of my mindset was also, we're brothers, our genetics. I know so many things for him in the past haven't worked. This is working. If it's working so well for him, it'll probably work, if not as well, at least decent enough for me to get back to a comfortable position. So I go through the steps. I asked him the questions. I literally started the day after that birthday party. We were having pizza and wings for my kid's birthday. I said, okay, tomorrow I'm starting. Yes. No, you were in a fast. You didn't eat anything that day.
Oh, did I not?
You were in a 10-day fast, and you didn't touch pizza or wings.
Oh, man.
At a party where we had pizza, wings, and Dr. Pepper, and you didn't touch anything. And that was another selling point for me. That willpower was like, okay, this is my brother. Like I've
Dr.
sat,
Pepper junkie, by the way.
and we've had a couple of cookies, and you drank a gallon of milk with 2 cookies. We used to do a McDonald's thing when we were in high school. We had our McDonald's meal.
Yeah, we had a menu.
It was our thing. We'd go to McDonald's. We both order supersized double quarter pounder meals with 2 McDoubles each on the side because the burger and fries supersized were not enough to fill us. We were monsters. And if he can sit at this party with family and friends and not touch a slice of pizza, not eat wings, and my wife makes good wings, and not grab our favorite soda, the nectar of the gods.
Yeah.
That we always
they
talked about for
diet,
years.
though.
They do. Diet Dr. Pepper is amazing. I still drink it. Then it's not just working physically. It's really, really working.
Yeah.
So I got to pick his brand. I got to figure out what it is. So he tells me. And then he's also playing around with this app on his phone that you can mess around with one of your pictures and see what you look like as a woman or all these different things.
Oh,
and so I didn't want to take...
when the face app was...
Yeah, I didn't want to take a picture of myself at the time because, like I said, I was disgusted. I took a picture and I looked so fat in the picture. I'm like, well, here, grab this old profile picture of me from online where I was healthy, fit, and had this great jawline and I looked really good. And we played around with that. And I'm like, man, I can't even take a picture of myself and feel comfortable. So I started keto the very next day. I didn't do intermittent fasting right away. Probably a few weeks before I started the fasting. But the way I started the keto was I cut out soda because I knew I could do that. And then I slowly brought down my sugars and carbs. So I didn't go straight into ketosis necessarily right away.
Yeah.
But I put myself on the track for the diet, and I gave myself, I didn't want to do the keto flu. I did about a week and a half floating into it.
Yeah.
And then I started doing it. And that was the end of January last year.
So that was one of the things me and Dan both talked about. Is I went hardcore cold turkey and I got the keto flu and everything. And for some people, that's the way to go. Just I think it depends on your mentality. For me, I think I had to do it that way.
Got to cut it out all at once.
But for some people, it is better to do it the other way, transition. And if you're going to do it, the first thing you always drop is the sodas and the sugary drinks.
Yeah. The sodas, the drinks, the ice cream, the cookies.
Yeah,
the sweets.
get rid of the sweets and the stuff. Right? And then
sweets out.
Work your way down to eventually dropping the rest of the carbs. But yeah, go ahead.
So I do that. And then about a month into the keto diet, I'm losing weight, 5 pounds, 4 or 5 pounds a week. I'm seeing it coming off. I'm thinking to myself, this is insane, because I wasn't, really big. Like really larger people, when they first start losing weight, you get that water weight loss in the beginning and you hope, okay, keep going. Don't just be the 10 pounds of water that comes off. A lot of people plateau after that with some diets. But when you have more weight to lose, you see bigger chunks come off when you're being successful.
Yeah.
I had weight to lose. Don't get me wrong. I had weight to lose.
Yeah,
anybody who understands BMI,
basically.
yeah. But I didn't have my brother's kind of weight to lose. I'm
talking
myself.
280 pounds.
Yeah, I didn't have a whole person to lose. I'm to myself, if it's coming off this fast with me, like there's really something to this. He wasn't kidding. He wasn't just, trying to float me something. So I start digging more and I'm asking questions, and we start sharing recipes and talking about different foods and, where do you go find the best low carb that's also not crazy processed. And I started looking online and I was finding recipes for keto breads to make my own hamburger buns or make rolls when I'm grilling for steak in case I want to have that kind of, bread substitute on the side. And I was eating more greens than I'd probably eaten in my entire life. Yeah. I always loved spinach in my salads and things, but I was really going after the, high fiber greens. Yeah. And I didn't do the fat bombs in my keto because I think I wasn't looking to lose as much weight. I went straight into the cutting out my carbs, high fiber, get my colon healthy. Which, if I'm not mistaken, was that? I can't remember. Anyway, sorry, I was thinking about something else that happened. Yeah, it's all right. So I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. But I honestly don't remember if it was before or after the weight loss.
I think it was before.
I think it was right before, right?
Yeah, and
I had to go and
and then all kind of went away, right?
Yeah, colonoscopy because the doctors think that I had an ulcer that healed before they got around to it. But I went through all these tests and stuff, and it was.
That was all before. I know it was.
A pain in so many ways. Whatever, it was about the time that the Excalibur or King Arthur movie, anyway, sorry. That came out on video. It was on HBO, and I was watching it at home. Then I remember pausing it 1,500 times. A 2-hour movie took me 3.5 hours to watch because I was in and out of the bathroom getting ready for that colonoscopy. Most miserable experience of all time. I'd rather get shot in the leg than do that again. So anyway, I started having health problems prior to all that. I mean, all these things that I never dealt with in my life before, I was having. Yeah. So I'm doing the keto diet. I picked his brain more. He says, "Well, start doing intermittent fasting with it." Like, okay, explain to me how that works. So I did the 16-8, and the reason I did that is because my job, I work 12-hour shifts. My job can become physically demanding in an instant. And I'm on my feet a lot in my job. I walk already on average about 10,000 or more steps a day. So even though I was putting on a bunch of weight, I was still active than someone who sits in a cubicle. Yeah. Sits behind a computer at a desk.
You weren't sedentary.
Yeah, I've never been really sedentary. I've never had that issue in my life. So I did the 16-8 because I had to have enough time that I was eating something when I was at work. And then I also, the experience of having dinner with my family, that was something that I couldn't on an emotional level sacrifice.
And I, most of the time, do something that's about a 16-8. I do switch into OMAD and then tighter windows.
And
but
sometimes I try to get it to an 18-6.
He pushes more OMAD, but a 16-8 still works.
So I did the intermittent fasting, the diet sped up. And then by the time my youngest child was born last year in the beginning of May, in a span of about 3.5 months, I lost just over 40 pounds. Yeah. And I'm in the hospital. She'd been born that day. I'm at the hospital. I'm like, you know what? Okay. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm done. I'm at my goal weight. This is it. So I stopped doing keto. I didn't go hard into a bunch of stuff. I eased my way in because what I realized is when I started introducing carbs and larger portions back into my diet, it was easily noticeable in my health.
Yeah.
I love Italian food.
We
love pasta. I had a big plate of pasta probably the first week after I decided that I stopped my keto diet. And the next, I couldn't even finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, I just felt so sluggish. And my insides felt all backed up. I mean, I wasn't actually constipated, but I could feel my body like really working to process these carbs. I thought to myself, okay, if I'm going to carb load like this, I had to be like doing it before I go running or something. So I was slowly reintroducing carbs into my diet and noticing how the carbs and some of the other food that I cut out for a while, how different it made me feel. Because then when I was doing the keto, everybody was asking me, you're losing weight so fast, what are you doing? And you tell them what you're doing. Well, how do you feel? Like you can't possibly feel healthy. You look like you're sick. Or people say that when you see extreme weight loss because they're like, you guys have talked about it. They see you a certain way. And when you start to change, the brain says something's wrong. It's not the normal. There must be something wrong with him or her.
Yeah.
So I didn't. I felt wonderful. I had more clarity. I was more awake. I was getting better sleep. I felt healthier, physically, mentally, emotionally healthier the whole time I was on the diet.
Yeah.
And so I realized that I couldn't just completely niche out keto, but as I started to go into a stabilization where I still kind of try to stay more low carb, what I used and what has continued to work is I still do intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Like Skyler said last week, intermittent fasting was all he needed to get himself going. I've been doing intermittent fasting now for a year since, and I've stabilized in my weight. At the most, I'm up to about 210 if I've had a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
And then I go back down, 205, 200 range. So in the last year, I've had at most a fluctuating scale of about 10 pounds, depending on how big a meal or, like I said, a holiday weekend is or how active I am, versus when I was fighting to stay at 245.
Yeah.
Because I was...
Well, that's one of the things me and Dan have also both talked about is I would say that you never want to go too crazy with carbs, even when you're no longer going to be doing you're not going to be in ketosis, but you want to still kind of be on the low carb side, which you generally are still now, but you will have
I have
carbs.
my pizza binge days, I have my pasta days, but
yeah, in general, you're eating healthy. You're not as many sweets,
and I still eat low carb tortillas.
Yeah, if when you have the option, go for the lower carb thing.
Yeah, I still do the greens things. Occasionally, I'll still get protein burgers at In-N-Out.
Yeah,
instead of getting a regular burger.
So that's one of the things we both talked about. It was like the one thing that we will always do from now on is intermittent fasting. Because even on days when I have my day off, I'll do a cheat day once a month thing, and I'm transitioning now to where I'm not calling them cheat days anymore as much as I'm not doing as many low carb days. I'm still doing keto most of the time, like 90% of the time, but once a week I might have a day like, I'm going to have a little more carbs today, but I'm still intermittent fasting those days because I'm trying to learn how to, I'm changing from losing to maintaining, and then I'm not just maintaining, but I'm trying to change myself physically now to being stronger.
Yeah, the
more
fitness
stuff, and that requires more energy. And if my caloric intake still too low, I won't actually get fit. I'll just be destroying the muscles and not being able to repair them. So I'm in a weird transitional point for my diet because I'm learning now. I'm trying to learn how not to lose, but then also not to put on weight. I'm trying to learn how to maintain.
Finding that balance, which in the beginning is a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah, so I'm at a different point now, but I'm figuring it out. But I'm saying, like, again, intermittent fasting is something that it's not a diet to lose weight. It helps
it's a healthy lifestyle.
It's a healthy lifestyle, and it helps make your weight loss better when you're doing whatever diet you've chosen. And then once you reach those points, then you just got to adjust the diet to fit, but keep doing the intermittent fasting.
Yeah. And the coolest thing that I noticed too is when I was ending my keto diet, how much that you guys have spoken about, how your palate changes, your body changes, the way you understand how your body handles certain foods. Your body tells you more than you probably, I mean, I'm sure I was telling you before,
You're
but
more
you're
sensitive.
not listening to
you're
it.
more sensitive to it.
But I eat certain things after my diet. Now I'm not on my keto diet anymore. When I was on my keto diet, if I really wanted something sweeter, we're having that treat on, kind of a cheat day or something. It was, I would have like a frozen yogurt, and I wouldn't put candy bars, or they wouldn't even put fruit in there. I'd have like the no sugar added, non-fat vanilla, the plain Jane vanilla with nothing to it. And I'd have like carob chips. If anyone knows what those are, they're the chocolate substitute. And I have like a little bit of a smoky-ish flavor, almost like a semi-sweet flavor to them. And I throw in like almonds and like walnuts. I would even try to avoid a lot of peanuts.
Yeah.
And it was delicious. I loved it. And the first time I picked up like, I don't know, like a cookies and cream or cookie dough ice cream, it was just so incredibly sweet.
It was too sweet.
That it didn't taste good, really.
Yeah.
And, now I can eat more of that kind of junkier stuff because, like I said, it's been about a year since I've been doing it. But in that, for the longest time, my body would just tell me like, hey, yeah, this may taste good, but, 4 bites into it, 2 pieces of whatever, and my body was like, okay, dude, you're done. You have to go lay down now because you're killing me. What you just put in here may have tasted good, but you feel like crap now because you were eating hollow calorie crap.
I used to joke.
So good job. Go lay down and feel like a lethargic lump on a log because you just ruined the rest of your evening. You're gonna feel like shit the rest of the night.
I used to do that whenever I used to eat pasta back in the day. It meant if I had a big pasta dinner or whatever, it meant I wasn't doing anything for the next 3 or 4 hours. I was going to lay on the couch and basically just call, like the joke from the Boondocks is the itis. I would get that from eating pasta. I would just for like 2 or 3 hours being in a pasta coma.
And it's horrible because as a family, the men in our family would do that. We'd have a big family dinner and we'd all be sitting down and we would just, eat the real man past full thing that we did, the joke that Larry had, that we all kind of had. And afterward, you see all the men at the table get up, walk from the dining room to the living room, spread out across couches and on the floor, and like undo buckles and belts and shorts and pants, and lay down on your back, stomach up, and just
like a bunch of bears going into hibernation.
Yeah, and then all the moms and sisters and wives are like, okay, we made dinner, like, or whatever, who's cleaning up, who's doing this? We're like, yeah, we'll get to it in like an hour when we can get back on our feet. The only thing that's moving me now is if I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. And by the time you did get back to the table, like the food's getting stuck to the plates. And
everything's beyond cold. The mashed potatoes that were once creamy are like a lump now because it's been sitting under there forever.
But it's crazy. So you did the keto, you did the IF, and you still do IF generally today. We both do, and it's just this transition. And I was gonna say, like, even I saw in you. I remember because it was about your our birthdays when your last beautiful baby girl was born. She's born. We have a lot of May birthdays in between our friends and family. It's ridiculous. May is a crazy
almost
busy
every day
month.
in the month of May has a significance to it.
And so when we both share our birthdays are really close to each other in May as well. And I remember seeing you, and we came to it. We have a game night. We have a group of friends. You guys who watched last week's episode with Skylar, he's part of that group. And we came to a game night, and he was wearing his Vegas Knights jersey, and it was massive on him because he got it at Christmas. Sweater. Yeah, your sweater. I mean, they're not jerseys, they're sweaters. His hockey sweater.
I'd gotten it at a birthday.
Was it birthday or was it Christmas?
It was my birthday. I got it on my
Christmas
birthday.
Before.
No.
Oh, no, they measured you.
It was a birthday, but when my wife was looking to get it, she was basing it off of some of the shirts and jerseys she had been buying me
from Christmas,
at the Christmas and stuff prior.
Yeah.
So she got an extra large. And jerseys can be oversized.
Yeah, they already are oversized, but it was ridiculous on him.
Big. So what I actually, if you ever watch a hockey game, you see that guy in the stands that has the team hoodie on underneath the sweater, which is actually what the hockey jersey is called, a sweater.
Yeah.
Underneath that jersey. When I do that combination, it looks like I'm ready to go to the hockey game. When I'm just wearing the jersey,
you look like a kid wearing his dad's jersey.
Down.
Which
is really comfortable, actually. I mean, it's all airy out.
Yeah, but it was ridiculously big on you. And I was like, man, I remember you putting, not putting it on, but I remember you like wearing shirts and stuff because you were wearing stuff that you were wearing from like 2 or 3 years ago, and they were so. You look like you were having a hard time breathing. It was amazing just for me. to see the same transition in somebody else.
I mean,
in a different way.
This shirt has like, more room in it and stuff again. And if I had tried to put this shirt on for something like this when I was my peak of weight, it's going to be bulging and I'd look like I would need a bra or something.
Yeah. So it was incredible. So, but I was going to say, so we both have birthdays that coming up. We share, basically growing up, we basically shared a birthday party.
I stole his birthday.
He stole my birthday from me. Yeah. So, once he was born, I never got a birthday by myself again.
God did the same thing. My daughter stole mine.
Oh, there you go. But so we're both going to do a thing here, and I'm going to invite anyone out there who's on the healthy side, or if you're not, get to the point where you can do something like this. We're going to do we both got our little watches that count our steps and things like that.
Fitness watches.
And we're going to do the steps thing, and we're going to do 1,000 steps for each year of our life in one day. So.
And I actually got the idea. I have a friend who's actually a little older than both of us, and he's always been a pretty fit guy. He's real big into things like Ninja Warrior and stuff. He built a little obstacle course in his backyard. He did a post. He just turned 40. He's like, I made my goal of 40,000 steps on my 40th birthday. I thought to myself, I can do that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I know who'd be perfect and who would want to do something like that with me right off the top of my head. My brother.
Yeah.
Larry would go out with me. We could knock out our 30,000+ steps.
You're going to say how many for you?
32,000 steps.
35,000 for me.
And we're going to do it now. I'm not going to do it on the birthday per se.
We're going to choose a day when we're both available. We have a day in the week.
We're going to go and we're going to knock out our steps.
And that's actually not that hard.
No,
it's funny. But for some people that will be, because even hitting 10,000 is hard for some people.
Yeah. I said, fortunately for me, being on my feet a lot of work and stuff, my daily goal is 10,000 steps. I get bugged on myself when I don't hit, especially when I'm working.
Yeah.
If something's coming on and I end up stuck writing a bunch of reports or something, I'll get to it. I kind of get really irked with myself. And you can ask my wife, we'll be in the bedroom. If I'm at that close, but I didn't hit it, I'll get up sometimes. And after I've showered and shaved and got all ready for bed and everything, I'll walk and pace around our bedroom. I got my last 400 steps.
I got really upset the other day because I did a bike ride and I forgot to hit my thing on my phone, actually, because I still was just using my phone. I didn't have my watch on, to let my phone know that I was doing a bike ride, so it counted it as a car ride. So it didn't give me my.
So you didn't give me the
credit for it.
Anything.
And then I was like, how did I not reach my goal for? I'm like, oh dang it, I was on a bike for that. Oh, I was so.
Why would I drive a car 12 miles an hour around town?
So yeah, back and forth on the same part. You know,
right?
Who drives
like looping the mountain really slow? I'm not a.
Yeah, I was some crazy
not
man.
Herbert the pervert in the unmarked van.
Yeah, so it was a funny little moment, and that's, I think, that's one of those little things, your mentality changes. We talked about mentality changing. I joke around with Dan sometimes and with my mom that I'm the guy now who goes hey, you want to split an apple with me? Because I'm counting my carbs for the day when I'm doing that, and I'm like, okay, I can get away with half an apple, but I don't want to waste half an apple. So who wants to split an apple with me? And who's the person who does that? And I'm that person. I gotta get 500 steps in before I go to bed tonight. We pace around the room.
Yeah. Or even you think to yourself, okay, when we were younger, there's a convenience store right down the street. I want to go and pick up something. When you're a kid, you're like, oh, let's go walk down the street to the convenience store and, grab the snacks, go to the park and play. When you're at that older age and you have the convenience of a vehicle and you're bigger, you're like, there's no way I'm walking 4 blocks to go get my fountain drink. Yeah. I'm hopping in the car and driving 35 seconds to pick up a 55-ounce soda that comes in a bucket.
And then come back and sit in front of the house, or TV and just drink it.
And drink 55 ounces of sugar.
Yeah.
Because I have a car and there's no way in hell I'm walking in the heat to do it. And now you're like, okay, I got to stop and grab this. It's not a cold perishable. Oh, well, Smith's is only a mile away. I can walk it.
Yeah, I've done that.
My oldest, my 11-year-old, the other night we're at home. She's like, well, I want to go for a walk. I'm like, okay, we're going to go for a walk. We're going to do a real walk. So we load up the younger ones in the double stroller and we're walking and there's a Smith's and it's literally a mile from our house,
Yeah.
And so we walked to the Smith's and got a little snack for the girls and for ourselves. Something a little cold that we could sip or snack on the way back. And we walked back to the house. We did a little 2-mile family walk and it was great. The weather was nice. It was a perfect night. Everybody loved it.
The kids, it'll be a thing they remember.
Yeah.
And that's so funny, that attitude, the difference. And even now, it's now one of the things I've talked about, there's little tips you can do. We'll start wrapping up here because we've hit an hour, but little tips and things you can do. We'll talk about. We'll end with this is little things you can do to help yourself. Like one of the ones I talk about is shopping the peripheral of the store. When you're at a store, try to avoid. This is 3 things I'm gonna do. This is one will relate to what we just talked about. This will be 3 shopping tips when you go into a grocery store. The first one is never go to the grocery store hungry. So,
yes,
because that'll lead to impulse buys, and that's a bad thing. So if you can avoid going to the store hungry, now again, if you're fasting, you're always hungry. But if you're into the point now where fasting is not an issue anymore, you're not actually hungry, where your brain's not just thinking about it constantly, but try to avoid going to the store hungry. Try to avoid impulse buys. Number 2 is shop the peripherals of the store. So shop the fresh fruit, fresh produce, fresh vegetables, the bakery. If you're not doing keto, stick to the bakery area. Don't go to like the processed
spend more
stuff.
time in
fresh meat, dairy,
in the
real food area,
the
basically.
cold cuts, the poultry. Spend more time in the, what is that? Where they cuts the butcher, the deli. Spend more time around the deli and the meats and the fresh vegetables and fruits in the bakery than you do walking up and down the
aisles,
boxed breakfast aisle.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you have, there's going to be things in that you have to get. Know what those things are. Go in, get them, get out. Don't look around and don't browse those areas.
You're still going to find whole grain oats in there.
And so then the other side of it is, the next one is, this is like a good little tip, I think, when you're going to the store, is just park as soon as you see a spot available. Don't try to get the closest spot closest to the door. And this really helps people who are, this is this is one of the things I did when I was like 400 plus pounds.
Yeah.
Is now I'm getting an extra, 30, 40 yards of steps in. And when you're that size, that's a huge difference.
It makes a big difference.
And even now I still do the same thing. I'm going to park here. One nice thing about that, especially with COVID-19 going on, you're not parking around right next to everybody else.
Yeah.
You're not worried about someone sneezing on you or whatever. You get, if it's a nice day, you get a nice little extra walk out of it. You get to add a few steps in, it's a nice little thing you can do. And on the same note, same with work and stuff like that. If you have an opportunity, if you work up a couple flights of stairs, every once in a while, take the stairs. Don't do the elevator. That's
one of the things that even when I was bigger, I used to try to tell myself, I'm still trying to do something, is I would go and when I'd park at work, we have where I work, the garage is 7-8 stories tall. So I would park on like level 5 and walk up 3 flights of stairs to the roof to get over and do what I had to do because we had to cross over on our roof. I had also, one thing when it comes to the parking lots at the grocery stores and things, not only is this something that help you in moving around more, but it's also polite.
Put your shopping
carts away. Walk across to the shopping cart, thing where you drop off the carts. And if there's another cart over there, walk a few steps and grab that one.
Maybe not right now, but yeah.
Put the shopping carts away and then go back to your car. For 2 reasons. Don't be too lazy to leave it up on the little planter in the middle by your car, because you don't want to walk the 25 feet to the other side of the parking spaces and put it in there. And also don't be the person who leaves the thing there so no one else can park in the damn spot.
Yeah, exactly.
It's twofold.
Yeah, so you get to be a good person and you get to be a good person to yourself.
Yes.
So on that note, we're going to end this episode of the No Breakfast Club. Just a quick reminder, there's a Facebook group. There should be a link in the description. Also, you can find us on many different podcasting services, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, all the things. So as always, how do I end this usually? As always, I'm Tote. No, that's my other show.
You're Larry.
I'm Larry. Woo!
I'm his brother Josh, who's not Dan, but happy to be here.
Anyways, and we'll catch you guys next time. Nightly Nerds is the other show if you ever want to check it out.
I still plug that channel sometimes for you.